what other people thought, and that's what made him stand out. And she said her favorite piece that Eddie ever wrote, the song 5150. Nita Strauss from the Alice Cooper Band said there are so many things that came from him that most guitarists probably don't even realize. It's like automatic transition on a car. These days, most people just take it for granted without realizing that somebody had to do it first. And more often than not, that person was Eddie. Her favorite song? Dreams. Tyler Bryant, he is a Texas-style blues guitarist, Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown. He said Eddie was always served the song. He would come up with the most interesting chord voicings, and he also knew when to keep it simple. His favorite, Could This Be Magic, and Take Your Whiskey Home from Women and Children First. Pliny, Plini, he is an Australian prodigy progressive guitar player, and he says, I love Ed's vibrato a lot, but more and more, Ed's biggest influence on me is simply how much enjoyment comes through his playing and his smile. And he said, there are very few guitarists I can think of whose playing exudes so much joy and raw excitement while also being filled with technical and harmonic ideas that are just mind-boggling. His favorite song? Good Enough. Justin Dorico, the Axeman for Pink, also the house guitarist for The Voice. He said Eddie had this ballsiness to his shredding, and he was super melodic as well, and he had this gutsy flair where he hit a note and he would kick your ass. And his favorite song? Hot for Teacher. Jared James Nichols, who plays with Joe Bonamassa, he said, Eddie and I share similar massive influences like Clapton and Leslie West. These are moments in his playing where you can clearly hear him taking on such influences and going elsewhere, breathing his own spirit into them. And he noted you can hear Leslie West's influence on tones like Running with the Devil when he was using one pickup. He definitely learned that from Leslie. As for Clapton, I think it was more of a foundation for Eddie. Listening to things like Crossroad and Spoonful must have been very big in teaching him the language and vocabulary of blues-based rock. Niley Broche, who plays with the Iron Maidens, Deathlock, and Tony McAlpine's touring band, as well as the Cirque du Soleil Michael Jackson show, One, he said, I usually like to focus on his lesser talked about rhythm playing. It's one of the more underrated yet extremely important aspects of his playing. He wasn't just a great improviser on leads, he was also extremely musical and spontaneous in his rhythm playing, very noticeably treating his role like a true accompanist to his various singers. And his favorite song? Hot for Teacher. Now, Sophie Lloyd, she's a YouTuber from UK. She's an incredible new shredder. She said, my dad would always have Van Halen blasting in the car, and my guitar teacher at university, Jim Clark, was the biggest Eddie Van Halen fan. He would always say, this here's a Van Halen lick. And what she did was, she did a cover of a Billie Eilish song in the style of Van Halen, which is kind of cool. And she said that because Billie Eilish hadn't heard of Van Halen, she thought it would be cool what it would be like if she had, and she likes both of them, so she kind of combined the two and did that. And her favorite song is Ain't Talk About Love. Hannah Stampville was also known as Hawks. She came out with her debut EP, Deadlands. She's really doing well. And Eddie's tapping, she said, has maybe a harmonic minor edge that's classically influenced. I never got into learning solos. I didn't have the patience for it. I'm mainly listening for techniques and watch live clips analyzing what is actually possible on the guitar. And if there was something I didn't understand, I'd always work that bit out. But she watched Eddie on YouTube. And Mark Holcomb from the band Periphery. I'm not even know how to. It's Periphery. Periphery. I think it's periphery. There you go. Periphery. He said, what would metal sound like without Ed? The entire genre wouldn't exist in its current form without Eddie. So all these young players, Dave, they all paid homage to the old man. It just goes to show you that Ed's influence still rocks on. What do you think of that?
It's nice to see that he's still an influence on the current generation.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
You know, that's awesome. And I think the artist who did the Van Halen cover of the Billie Eilish song, I think that's freaking funny.
Yeah, that is really funny.
That's awesome.
She got a sense of humor.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I only know one or two of her songs.
Yeah.
I think that's freaking awesome. Kudos to her.
Very cool. Now, if you guys are interested in this is sort of a wild story. So I'm not going to get into the whole thing because it is fucking long and Dave will kill me. But the Crossroads movie with Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai in it, okay? Remember Steve Vai played the devil, Jack Butler in that, right? He plays that duel at the end where he easily beats Ralph Macchio, yet Ralph Macchio wins. It's the same thing as the Karate Kid. It's like this guy, Eric Kirkland, he wrote this story about a 20-year epic quest to find out whatever happened to the Red Jackson guitar that Steve Vai played as Jack Butler in that movie. And he does this incredibly huge article about his quest, and it literally went over 20 years, to the point where he contacted Steve's manager. Steve got in touch with him, and Steve wondered what happened to it, and he was wondering if it was in his guitar arsenal or if it wasn't, and then he was trying to categorize all his guitars, and so then he thought he found it in a Hard Rock Cafe all the way down in New Zealand, and in Queenstown, New Zealand, but apparently there was like the wrong number on it. I guess guitars have these serial numbers on it, and apparently that was wrong, and that wasn't the right guitar. And then he finally found it at a Hard Rock Cafe in Biloxi, Mississippi, which makes sense because that's where Crossroads was from. And apparently, as it all turns out, it was a movie prop. Like the guitar that Steve recorded it with was a totally separate guitar. And I don't know. But there was this whole long question. It's an interesting story, but you might want to check that out. All about tracking down Steve Vai's Crossroads guitar. It's pretty funny. And Steve started searching for it. It was like really crazy. So what did you think of that, Dave?
I had no idea that it was one of these things.
I know.
That people have been looking for years.
I know. It was weird.
Right? And,
yeah.
And it turned out Steve didn't even use it to play on the song after all that. But they did eventually find it, right?
Yeah, no,
so,
they did find it, which is
right.
all's well that ends well. So now our friend Mitch, Dave, Mitch Malloy, okay, Van Halen's Lost Boy, as we like to refer to him. He was the guy who was supposed to replace Sammy Hagar, but came in Gary Sharon in an interception and took off and made Van Halen 3. But Mitch Malloy, who is now the lead singer of Great White, he got a little busy at his home studio and he recorded an acoustic version of Open Arms, the Journey song, as well as Aerosmith's Dream On. Here's a clip of Mitch doing the Journey classic Open Arms.
So now I come to you with open arms, nothing to hide. Believe what I say. So here I am with open arms, hoping you'll see what your love means to me. Open arms.
Now here's a clip of Mitch doing the Aerosmith song Dream On.
Sing with me, sing for the year, sing for the laughter, sing and for the tear. Sing with me if it's just for today, maybe tomorrow, good Lord, will take you away.
So as you can tell, Mitch is showing off his pipes. If you look at the video, Mitch looks amazing. I don't know, that guy's found the fountain of youth. It's incredible how young he looks, but he's in amazing shape, and he's got this gorgeous set of hair, and he looks great, and he sounds amazing. He really has some incredible pipes. Now, would he have worked in Van Halen? Who knows? But he could do it for sure. He could easily handle the material for sure, but you wonder if he would have the same bite. I'm not really sure, Dave. What did you think of these clips?
It was interesting. I mean, he can certainly sing, right? So,
yeah? Oh, well, for sure, yeah.
He can belt them out with the best of them.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
He picks good material to cover, so no argument there either.
That's true. And unfortunately, Dave, I have some bad news to end Van Halen news on, unfortunately. This is a sad, sad, sad moment. So we want to announce that Claudio Zampoli, Dave, has passed away. We all know Claudio.
That is sad.
Yeah,
that
I know.
is sad.
It is. So Claudio, he's the founder of Automobila Sezzata. I think that's the name of it. He died at the age of 82. He's best known for that V16 supercar, the Ciezza Morodo V16 supercar. only made like 12 of them or something like that. It said, we all know Claudio is the one who used to take care of Eddie's cars and take care of Sammy's cars, and he's the one who introduced, or not introduced, but actually made the connection for Ed to call Sam, even though Sam wanted Ed to call Ed. So that is how Van Hagar was created. So obviously, Claudio holds a big role in the history of Van Halen. Quietly, he never really, trumped all of them about it, but they were just both customers and friends of his, and that he put them together, and it's too bad that he died at 82 years old. So move on to greener pastures. Our friend Claudio, so sad to hear that, Dave. Really, really sad.
What I want to know is that, out of respect to Claudio, are you going to stop doing an impersonation of him? Which we don't even know if that's how he talks, but, we're just assuming it because you've done it for so long.
Dave, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but you wanna bring it up, so I'm gonna have to listen. I gotta go, I gotta take care of Eddie's got all kinds of automobiles up here, I gotta take care of everything, Listen, do me a favor. No one will ever really know what I did. I took a little bit of the green, you know what I'm saying? To make that call. Oh, for Sammy, nobody knows nothing. You keep it between you and me, you know what I'm saying?
Couldn't resist, could you?
Hey, listen, don't hold a bloody arm over the mouth of a shark.
Well, you could have said, no, I'm not, and that would have been the end of the news, but you couldn't resist.
I can't do that.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Just so easy.
Hey, listen, it's all out of love. Claudio, we honor you, honestly. It's all Van Halen fans. Oh, Claudio, a thank you, and certainly a rest in peace for sure, because he is our friend, Claudio. We say it out of love. We're not making fun. We have no idea how Claudio speaks. But he is a fellow Italiano, Dave, so we say Chindad, you know what I'm saying?
So we salute your memory, sir.
That's right.
Rest in peace.
That's right. And that wraps up Van Halen news.
And that's the way it is. Good night.
Oh, Dave, and we are on to all kinds of stuff. So, what do we got this time out? Well, we have an interview with Steve Vai. Steve Vai. We do an interview with Steve Vai, which is interesting because I did a background on Steve Vai about some of his early days playing on Long Island, and we get into that and some other updates of what he's up to right now, followed by our interview with Mitch Schneider. Mitch Schneider, who was the public relations representative for David Lee Roth from A Little Ain't Enough in 1991 all the way through Diamond Dave in 2003. And he talks about all his time with Roth and all the different goings-on that went between them. He worked with him for many years closely. So that's really interesting. But before that happens, we got to torture Dave with a nice bag of mail to knock him over the head with. And that is all coming up next. Take a listen.
Some of these rock bands are getting up there, huh? Anybody get out and see the Rip Van Halen tour last year? Want to see David Lee Roth do one of those Van Damme leg splits now, huh? Knock his nads up through his gullet like he's picking that night's Powerball numbers or something.
If you need a dose of VH, get a taste of the closest thing. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band, playing all the hits from the David Lee Roth era, first classic 6 albums, plus deep cuts, some of which have never been played live before by the band. They even throw in popular tracks from the Sammy Hagar era and solo hits. The most viewed Van Halen tribute band on YouTube, Romeo Delight, doing customized recreations of staging, instruments, and costumes from the classic Van Halen era. They even perform entire Van Halen albums in sequence. Romeo Delight plays theaters, casinos, summer indoor and outdoor festivals, and special events. They're also available for private parties. To contact them, call Bud Blanche at 215-704-5144. That's 215-704-5144. Or via email at sonicparade1@yahoo.com. Romeo Delight, the ultimate Van Halen tribute band.
Hey, y'all out there. This is Niels Lozauer, rock and roll photographer for many a